Hello, welcome back. So, we are still in the business of helping Scrum Masters, business analysts, and project managers become better practitioners on the field. And yes, welcome back to the techyned blog. And also, of recent, we noticed that most of our listeners are not subscribed. And we hope you do click that subscribe button because it's a way of encouraging us to do more and, to post more videos and all. So the last time we looked at assess requirements changes, and also just as a reminder, we are on requirement lifecycle management. We looked at trace requirements, maintain requirements, prioritize requirements, and assess requirements changes, and we're going to look at the last task here, which is approve requirements. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Now, the purpose of approve requirements is to obtain agreement on an approval of requirements and designs for business analysis work to continue and or solution construction to proceed. So at the end of the day, you've done due diligence and this time you want your requirements to be signed off. Okay. So, business analysts are responsible for ensuring clear communication of requirements, designs, and other business analysis information to the key stakeholders responsible for approving that requirement. So, you've cleaned everything up and you've gone to meet the key stakeholders who should sign off on your requirement. Remember, you already have your stakeholder list somewhere, so you know who to go to, okay? Approval of requirements and designs may be formal or informal. Maybe you can discuss about it, you then send it to your stakeholders to sign off. Predictive approaches typically perform approvals at the end of the phase or during planned change control meetings. Adaptive, that is telling you Waterfall and Agile, how requirements are approved. Adaptive approaches typically approve requirements only when construction and implementation of a solution meeting the requirements can begin. So, for example, in Waterfall, you do everything and at the end, you now sign off. But in adaptive, you do it even way ahead. Okay. So, because analysts and business analysts work with key stakeholders to gain consensus on new and change requirements, communicate the outcome of discussions, and track and manage the approval. Now, what are your input? First is your requirements that have been verified and then designed. So requirements verified, a set of requirements that have been verified to be of sufficient quality to be used as a reliable body of work for further specification and in development. So you can go on to use this as for your development. That is provided to your developers. Designs, a set of designs that have been determined as ready to be used for further specification and development. Now, looking at our diagram, so we have here, once a requirement has been approved, it is a finalized business analysis work product and is implemented. The same thing we said that when you are done, you provide it to your developers and they begin work. Okay. So your input would be requirement verify designs, then guidelines and tools would be your change strategy, governance approach, legal or regulatory information, requirement management tools or repository, solution scope. Now, approve requirements would be what you're doing, and then your output will be requirements approved and designs approved. Looking at the elements, the first one is understand stakeholder roles. Very important. The approval process is defined by the tax plan, business analysis, governance. We have a video on this, you can check it out. Part of the defining the approval process is understanding stakeholder roles and authority levels so that you don't go to the wrong person. Business analysts are responsible for obtaining stakeholder approvals and are required to understand who holds decision making responsibility and who possesses authority for sign off across the initiative. So you should have, you know, done your stakeholder analysis and who should you go to for sign off. Business analysts also consider any influential stakeholders who should be consulted or informed about the requirement. Few stakeholders may have the authority to approve or deny changes, but many stakeholders may be able to influence these decisions. So you need to be careful. Conflict and issue management, because yes, To maintain stakeholder support for the solution, consensus among stakeholders is usually sought prior to requesting approval of requirement. Yeah, you have to you don't just throw it to them and say, okay, it's ready, approved. No, have a meeting with them, discussion, make sure everyone is on board, before you start, providing those documents. The approach for determining how to secure decisions and resolve conflicts across an initiative is planned for in the tax plan business analysis governance. This governance is very important. Please go read it up, or you can listen to our audio. Stakeholder groups frequently have varying points of view and conflicting priorities. Yeah, even when someone tells you, okay, I agree, go ahead, and stuff like that, you still need to check in with them. Okay? A conflict may arise among stakeholders as a result of different interpretations of requirements or designs and conflicting values placed on them. Yes, at the end of the day, they will be like, oh, I thought it was supposed to be like this. I'm not seeing this requirement. Okay, why is this requirement like this? Why is it missing some information? Not knowing that they've already said, okay, remove that, it won't be necessary. And so that is why you have to track. Okay, who said what and what's your feedback. You have to have that communication line with your stakeholders. The business analyst facilitates communication between stakeholders in areas of conflict so that each group has an improved appreciation for the needs of the others. Okay, so that people would respect people's opinions, know okay, they chose this because it would impact this and stuff. Conflict resolution and issue management may occur quite often as the business analyst is reviewing for requirements and designs and aiming to secure sign off. So, gain consensus. Business analysts are responsible for ensuring that the stakeholders with approval authority understand and accept the requirements. Yes, people just don't sign up on stuff they don't know nothing about. Okay, approval may confirm that stakeholders believe that sufficient value would be created for the organization to justify investment in a solution. Business analysts obtain approval by reviewing the requirements or changes to requirements with the accountable individuals or groups and requesting that they approve, indicating their agreement with the solution or designs described. Okay. So at the end of the day, you're meeting maybe it's your customer, you're meeting your sponsor, you're meeting, okay, they are going over, and even for example, they see other people's signature, they can even go ahead to meet them on their own to say, okay, did you sign this off? Okay, what do you think about it? And stuff like that before they even sign off. Yeah, some stakeholders are that detailed. So using the method and means established in tax, plan business analysis governance, and communicate business analysis information, business analysts present the requirements to stakeholders for approval. Business analysts facilitate this approval process by addressing any questions or providing additional information when requested. Complete agreement may not be necessary for a successful change, but if there is a lack of agreement, the associated risks are to be identified and managed accordingly. Track and communicate approval. We've mentioned this before. The business analyst records approval decisions, possibly in requirement maintenance and tracking tools. In order to communicate the status of requirements, it is necessary to keep accurate record of current approval status. Stakeholders must be able to determine what requirements and design are currently approved and in line for implementation. So communicate. If it's possible, meet them one-on-one. If it's possible, have a group meeting, so that people will know where things are, what they are approving, what other person has approved, the questions asked, the feedback gotten and stuff. There may be value in maintaining an audit history of changes to requirements. What was changed, who made the change, the reason for the change, and when it was versioning, having versioning maybe on SharePoint and stuff, so that people can refer back to what, or even saying, okay, having the easiest way to do it is, for example, the folder you created for your requirement, just have an archive. Okay, so when maybe something has been, you guys have done your meeting, you've cleaned it up, so move the old document to archive the old document and have a new document, and maybe name it version 2 or version 2 point, and put your date. Okay, guidelines and tools. Change strategy provides information which assists in managing stakeholder consensus regarding the needs of all stakeholders. Governance approach identifies the stakeholders who have the authority and responsibility to approve business analysis information, and explains when such approvals will take place and how they would align to organizational policies. Legal or regulatory information describes legislative rules or regulations that must be followed. They may impact the requirements and designs approval process. Requirement management tools or repository tool to record requirement approvals. Solution scope must be considered when approving requirements to accurately assess alignment and completeness. Techniques: acceptance and evaluation criteria used to define approval criteria. Okay, so at what would we see? What should we would determine our approval? Decision analysis used to resolve issue and gain agreement. For example, when there are so many options or when they need to be an agreement or a decision to be taken, you as a project manager or even a business analyst would raise a decision request, or do you understand, do a decision analysis, document it and provide it to your stakeholders, so they would read and then also recommend. Then they would now choose which of the options they want to go. Maybe when there are various varying requirements and one needs to go, one needs to stay, so you raise that document. Item tracking used to track issues identified during the agreement process. Reviews used to evaluate requirements. Workshops used to facilitate obtaining approval. Stakeholders, yes, customer may play an active role in reviewing and approving requirements and design to ensure needs are met. Your domain subject matter expert may be involved in the review and approval of requirements and designs as defined by stakeholder roles and responsibility designation. End user, people who use the solution or who are a solution component and may be involved in the review, validation, and prioritization of requirements and designs as defined by stakeholder roles and responsibility designation. The operational support responsible for ensuring that requirements and designs are supportable within the constraints imposed by technology standards and organizational compatibility plans. Operational support personnel may have a role in reviewing and approving requirements. Well, operation is very important because they are the ones that you would move the work to on deployment. So they would make sure that this sits well with them in terms of capacity, in terms of size and stuff. Project manager responsible for identifying and managing risk associated with solution design, development, delivery, implementation, and operation and sustainment. The project manager may manage the project plan activities pertaining to review and or approval. Regulate or external or internal party who tells you that, oh, well, we need to watch this or that so that we don't get fined, okay? Who is responsible for providing opinions on the relationship between stated requirements and specific regulations, whether formally in an audit or informally as input to requirement lifecycle management task. Sponsor responsible for to review and approve requirement case, solution or product scope and all requirements and designs. Tester responsible for ensuring quality assurance standards are feasible within the business analysis information. For example, requirements have the testable characteristics. Output, and your output will be requirements approved, designs approved. So here, requirements which are agreed to by stakeholders and are ready for use in subsequent business analysis efforts. Your designs approved, designs which are agreed to by stakeholders and are ready for use in subsequent business analysis or solution development effort. So the next thing is our chapter 6, and it is strategy analysis. Congratulations, and we see you soon.